All right, hey everybody. What I'm going to do with this video is this is going to be a two-part exercise, and I'll do the first part today. The second video, which will show you the like how I do the actual drawing, may be posted by the time I put this one up. It may not, but if not, you can do this first. So what I want you to do is on your good sheet of paper, I want you to rule out two areas. The first is a 16 by 16 square, and just leave it blank. Don't put any tone or anything in it yet. And then the other, down below it, I want you to rule out a 2-inch wide and 10-inch long box that you divide into 5 2-inch boxes. So each box is 2 by 2. Okay, so this is what we're going to work on today. What I'm going to do is create a tonal scale. So this is in preparation for starting to use tone for things like light and shade, and to go a little bit further than we did with our last tonal drawing, which was that flower drawing, where we just used a light and a dark. So now we're going to expand our tonal range a little bit to start dealing with, again, light and shade and volume and those kinds of things. So your value scale down here, number 1 is going to be the white of the paper, so that's going to be as light as you go. And then number 5 is going to be your darkest. So you'll start off by going to number 5, and with your Conte crayon, you're going to just make it as dark as you can. And with the value scale, it's important to try to keep the edges pretty clean between these boxes. In other words, don't let one tone run into the other. We're going to have 5 separate tones in these boxes. So I'm just putting this Conte down as dark as I possibly can. And then when I'm done, what I'll have is my endpoints. I'll have my lightest light, which is number 1, and then I'll have my darkest dark, which will be number 5. And these tones are the tones that we're going to use for the second drawing. So it's important to get this at least in the ballpark in terms of these tonal changes from 1 through 5. All right, so I put my Conte down there, and you're also going to need your chamois cloth and your paper stump. So I'm going to take my paper stump and I'm just going to rub the tone and try to create as flat and even a tone as possible. And again, sort of taking care as I come up against the lines to make sure that I've got a nice even block of tone. I don't want different sort of stripes of value running through each block. Let's clean up the edges here. Okay, so there I've got 1 and 5. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my midpoint, and I'm going to just sort of look at 1 and 5 and just try to determine what I think would be about a medium value that's halfway between those two. So what we want to do with this tonal scale is to try to create 5 even transitions where the difference between 1 and 2 is the same as 4 and 5. So there's an even, sort of an even step between each one. So I'm going to go to 3, and I'm obviously not going to put in anything as dark as I put in the number 5. So I'm just going to do that. And the Conte, it's difficult to get it perfectly even, but just do your best. Try to get as simple and unified a block of tone in each square as possible. All right, so there it is. So there's my number 3, and I'm not quite sure how that will work out yet. I may have to lighten it, I may have to darken it. But I'm basically going to leave that for now. That's my number 3. So then I can go from 3, I can go to either number 4 and look for something in between those two, or I can go to number 2 and look for something that's between 1 and 3. So I'm going to go to number 2. Now here I have to be careful. I obviously don't want to go too dark. So my paper stump at this point is kind of dirty, so I'm just going to rub in a tone with my paper stump without actually putting any Conte down first. what I want is a tone that looks like it's somewhere halfway between a 1 and a 3 for this 2. So like when I look at from here to here, does that seem about the same kind of jump as from here to here? And if I feel like I'm kind of in the ballpark, I'm going to move on. It's good to create your whole scale, and then you can go back and you can adjust. So now with this, I need something halfway between those two. So again, I'm going to put down Conte. My feeling looking at this is probably my number 3 tone might be just a little too dark, but we'll see. Again, you want to try to bring this tone right up against the next tone. You don't want to leave like a little white gap or anything. You read the tone changes a little bit better if you bring one tonal shape right up against the other. So it's just going to take a little bit of manipulating on your part. All right. So I have a tonal difference between these 3, but it's a little tight in here. So I might come back and I might lighten my 3 just a little bit with my chamois cloth. If I have to take a lot out, I can go to my eraser, but I want to try to avoid that because, as you know by now, this paper only takes so much punishment with Conte crayon. And I may have to darken this just a touch. Come in here and get a little bit more dark. Okay, so I think you get the idea that you're trying to create a fairly even scale, because what we're doing here is building a toolbox that we're going to be using in our drawing. So you want the greatest stretch, given that we're just going to be using 5 values, you want the greatest stretch as possible between them, so you have the most ability to vary your value in the coming drawing. Okay, and again, I will follow this with another drawing where we'll talk about the actual exercise that you'll be doing. That's good for now.